Who is the real Moses of the Old Testament? The first 5 books of the Old Testament are supposedly written by Moses. He's one of the patriarchs that I simply adore. I love him so much. Now, the hypothesis that the Egyptian crown prince Thutmose could have been the real Moses is probably by certain historians proposed and researchers, but it's not widely accepted or supported by solid evidence. Could there be a potential connection between the Egyptian crown prince Thutmose and the biblical figure Moses? In the Old Testament, it says that Moses was also not only the adopted son of the princess of Egypt, the daughter of the Pharaoh, so hence he was a prince of Egypt, but he was also the official prince of Ethiopia, according to the Old Testament. Now, in the vast tapestry of ancient history, there are a few stories and figures that captivate our curiosity. One such enigma is the identity of Moses, the legendary leader of the Hebrews who led them out of Egypt. But what if there is a secret connection between Moses and a forgotten Egyptian crown prince? Crown Prince Thutmose, the rightful heir to the throne of ancient Egypt. According to historians, Thutmose should have been the next in line after Amenhotep III, but instead someone else took charge, his younger brother Akhenaten. Thutmose seemingly disappeared from the picture, leaving historians to assume that he died, or did he? An astonishing inscription on a wine jar devoted to Akhenaten describes him as the true king's son. Now, this sounds strangely reminiscent of the Moses and Ramesses II story, doesn't it? Let's dive deeper into the linguistic connections. In ancient Egypt, the word for son was Mose, and in Greek it becomes Moses. If we consider the possibility that Thutmose had to go into exile, fearing for his life, as Akhenaten plotted to kill him for his rightful place on the throne as the king's true son. Let's remember the Old Testament says that he accidentally pushed an Egyptian, and the Egyptian lost his life that way. So that's why Moses left Egypt to go into hiding. Now, if we accept that Thutmose abandoned the Tut, which perhaps came from the Egyptian god Thoth, part of his name, then the connections between Moses and Mose becomes remarkably strong. So let's ponder upon this speculative theory. Could it be that the 3 main Abrahamic religions of our contemporary age, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, are directly connected to the religious ideology of the mystery schools of ancient Egypt? Perhaps in a truly bizarre way, the thought process and spirituality of one of the greatest civilizations to ever grace the earth are still preserved within our faiths today. There's another theory that suggests an Egyptian priest of Akhenaten may have been the real Moses. In his book, Moses the Monotheist, Sigmund Freud proposed the idea that monotheism originated with Akhenaten. According to this theory, the Israelites were living in Egypt during Akhenaten's reign and were open to his monotheistic message, but after Akhenaten's death and the downfall of his dynasty, the Amun priests and the new pharaoh worked diligently to eradicate Akhenaten's religion as well as his name from the pages of history. This includes persecuting the followers of his faith of monotheism, many of whom were believed to be the Israelites. Consequently, the priest of Akhenaten's religion, possibly an Egyptian named Moses, led the Israelites out of Egypt and into the desert, an event known as the Exodus. However, most historians have ruled out all these possibilities, stating that neither Thutmose was the same as Moses from the Bible, nor is there any connection between Pharaoh Akhenaten and Moses. Thutmose was a name of several ancient Egyptian pharaohs who ruled between the 16th and 14th centuries BC, whereas Moses is a biblical figure who's believed to have lived around the 13th century BC. There's no historical evidence to suggest a direct connection between Thutmose or Akhenaten and Moses. After reading about Moses and a forgotten Egyptian crown prince, you can read about the ancient Egyptian texts describing Jesus as changing face, especially after his resurrection. We read that in the New Testament. This is on Mysteries Unsolved. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Now, concerning Moses, we know that he was one of 3 children. He was the youngest of 3 children. His older brother was Aaron, who actually became the first high priest of the Hebrews. He had a sister, Miriam, and he was the baby. And when he was 3 months old, he was set in a little reed basket down the Nile, so that his sister was following him and found that the daughter of the Pharaoh actually picked him up now from the river. Now, we know that Moses was chosen by God to lead his people out of Egypt and into the promised land. But how is it that God chose Moses? Well, according to the Holy Bible, it's because he was the most humble person on the face of the earth at that time, according to Numbers 12:3. Now, Moses was a very humble man, more humble than anyone else on the face of the earth, according to Numbers 12:3. And we see that many a time God does that to even us. We say, well, what does God want us for? We're nobodies, we're worthless, dust and ashes. And yet he is glorified in this way. Many times God uses Christians who have no abilities whatsoever, just like the fishermen that Jesus Christ chose, and they turned out to be the people that made the biggest miracles in the early Christian church. To glorify God, that's how God is glorified, through our weaknesses and our nothingness. And this is exactly the way Moses was used and glorified God. I wish you all a very Merry Christmas, happy and joyous New Year, and may God bring you to become living saints. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.